How's it going there, guys? Yeah. Good thing is, once you start working on your project, you can't wait to get off work to go home and do it. You get excited just to come home and just to work on your car. Last night I started to basically pull everything down and make all my gauges to function from the original, from the gauges. So last night I started slowly depending stuff or disconnecting stuff and marking it. That way I can turn this harness into a standalone for the sensors I'm going to run. That way I can run the AC. I can get rid of that. See, I marked it and put an X on it. Everything I disconnected as I went, I marked it. That way I know where it's at, where it's from. And once I get the harness out, then I can start getting rid of what I don't want. So I basically need the oil temp sensor, or the oil pressure sensor, the coolant temp sensor right there. So that's why I left it in red. That way I know I needed it. And what's in black, I'm getting rid of. So I'm not worried about the AC stuff, because when I do the LS swap, the GM computer will control it. But to get my gauges, my original gauges, to work, all I gotta do is take that sensor right there, temp sensor, and on the GM on the passenger side here, there's a plug back there, or there's a hole. All I gotta do is put the adapter in it, screw that into it, and then plug it in off the original wire, and it'll run to the dash and it'll function. So right now I figured out volts, oil, the temp, fuel gauge will work. So all those gauges will work. The only thing I got to work on is the temperature. I mean the speedometer. Got to work on the speedometer. I don't know if there's any conversion out there that'll work between the GM transmission and the Ford computer. If it is, I wish somebody tell me about it. Because if not, all I'm gonna do is take the sensor output from the GM transmission and hook it up to the speed sensor input to the Ford computer there, and see what happens. If it functions some, then maybe I can get the tuner to maybe adjust it, get calibrated. Because if not, then I'm gonna have to just get a GPS speedo and run it, which I don't know. I'll have to. I gotta have some kind of speed. But last night I was out here for a lot of hours. I only meant to be out here like an hour or two, and I ended up out here until almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Didn't mean to, but after a couple of cold snacks and not watching the times, just listening to some tunes, that's what kind of happens. Time gets away from you. This is mostly already disconnected. I still got to disconnect still got the oil pressure sensor down there by the oil filter. I got to disconnect. And I still got the crank sensor down there I got to disconnect. And other than that, the whole engine's disconnected. Actually, I get down underneath and do the transmission. Disconnect all the stuff off the transmission. That'll be able to pull this thing out. Then what I'm going to do is turn this harness into a standalone. All by its lonesome. That way I can hook it back up and my gauges will still work. Actually take it and depend everything I don't need. All these things I don't need, and get rid of them. That's why I got an X on them. Don't need them. Now I was watching one guy. I was watching one channel. His name You Can Do It, and he did a great job of doing a GM harness. He actually used yellow duct tape for the stuff he didn't want, and green for what he did want to keep. And he showed step by step how to make a standalone harness from you know, just a junkyard harness. Man, he actually showed me that I could do it. With somebody like that, he really explained it really well. So I'm able to, actually gave me the courage and maybe the know-how to even try it. So I was always scared to do something like that because I'm kind of scared of wiring. But after watching what he did and how he did it, it's looks like it's not too bad as long as you pay attention to what you're doing. Of course, you got Lt1swaps.com to do the GM harness. There really is nothing for Ford, but I mean, if there's somebody that wants to do a harness that that they don't want to do it themselves and turn it into a standalone, there's a guy on Facebook, Nathan Hensley, something like that. He'll strip your harness for you and turn it back so you can run the gauges and AC and stuff, like if you're doing a 5-liter swap. That way you can run your original AC and gauges and everything. But like I said, this is my first one, which is going to be an LS swap. But I still want to do one that's going to be a Hemi swap, a 5-liter swap, and then we'll go from there. I want to have, you know, a Vic with each engine. I'm definitely running AC and everything. What I'd like to do is try to find that engine, electric motor that's 12 volt and strong enough I can actually put in a shaft that's big enough to put a 6-rib pulley on it to actually run all these accessories and get them off the crank. Completely get rid of them. I want to run a Volvo hydraulic electric power steering pump. That way I can get the power steering pump off my engine, run that separate, and put that probably in the fender well over there, off to the side over there, or on this side, whichever. Run it down in here, and it's electric, and I actually have a sensor now that you actually hook to its controller, where you can actually turn it up or turn it down. Because before, you just is what it is. It was like 75%. You had stiff steering. There's nothing you can do about it. But they have a controller now. It's $59.99 on eBay, and you can literally take a screwdriver and turn it up or turn it down to get the feel of the steering the way you want it. Which I'm fixing to order that this week. That way I go ahead and get me one of them sensors. So at least I get the power steering off of my engine. Because when you start turning high RPMs, power steering pumps like to check out. The last thing I want is stuff to keep checking out. That is aggravating. One right after another. Start turning, 6,500, 7,000 RPMs, it goes bye-bye. So, it's the last thing I want to deal with. Hydraulic fluid everywhere. But I would really like to find a electric motor that could possibly make a bracket, and when it's got a shaft that's big enough to press on a 6-rib pulley to run the water pump and the AC compressor and the alternator. It can be self-contained, and we can sit there and turn the engine off and still run it, because it's still charging the battery. You still got electricity off the alternator to run everything, and still sit there and be nice and cool. I've been thinking about that for years, but I've just never really checked into it, because if you don't get off the couch and go do it, it's never going to get done. And since I was on the couch and working and doing and not actually implementing anything, that's what happens. You can think all you want, but if you don't get your butt up and actually go out there and turn a wrench, nothing's going to happen. Well, while I'm getting my blocks at the machine shop getting done, I had to have a sleeve pressed into it. That's the reason why I got it so cheap. And get that done, get it bored, I can get her back, and I still got to find a set of heads, but it's going to end up costing me more money in the end. But at least I'll be running an Ls3. That's what I've been wanting to run. I mean, I was going to settle for a 6 liter or something. I wasn't doing a 5.3. Everybody always settles for a 5.3 because it's cheap. I'm not doing it. If I'm doing this, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do what I really want. Because you just do it and just settle, I'm not settling. If it takes me a few extra weeks, a couple extra months to save, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not settling. I'm not just going to throw it together. I mean, I don't want to be one of them people that has it on their jack stands for 10 years and eventually scraps it. I'm not doing that either. But anyways, you know, one step at a time is what I'm doing. So I'm getting this harness out, that way I can start making me a standalone harness. That way my gauges will work when I get the Ls3 in here. I'm probably gonna pull this engine and tranny and sell it. It runs good, tranny's good. I'll probably just go ahead and sell it. Which I sold my grandson an '08 Crown Vic, so I may just pull this engine and go ahead and freshen it up. That way it's there for him if he needs it. His engine goes out, but he's only got 120,000 on that one, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to need it anytime soon. But we'll see what happens. If you guys want to follow along and see how it goes, you know, go ahead and like and share and subscribe. Alright, have a good one. See you on the next one. Bye.